Hello ladies, blokes and non-binary folks. Been a bit since I did a review, so let's do a double whammy. Well, one figure but in two styles. A few years back the Legacy line was throwing all sorts of characters from different eras at us, something that hasn't really stopped and is likely how Generations will be for a long time. Bit nicer than all G1, I guess. I mean, it's still like 70% G1, but you get what I mean. Legacy was a great toy line, which if you want to get a rundown on the whole thing, you could watch Dr. Lockdown's massive review of every figure, and not just because I'm in that vid somewhere. The line brought us figures from the Unicron trilogy, Beast Wars Prime animated, and more. They even snuck in a Kiss Players reference in one set, which is maybe all the exploring of that era we need. Granted, there was a lot of G1 and 2, but that's to be expected. Now, when the line started, I was all hyped for some Beast Wars, and I grabbed a few, but they really didn't do much for me. They were good, but they weren't as fun. I think in my head I want Beast Wars lads to have spring-loaded gimmicks and stuff, and without it they didn't hit the same. But then, in the Evolution era of Legacy, along came Beast Wars' second Lio Convoy, renamed Lio Prime for a westernised take. And here he is. Looks pretty decent, doesn't he? It's very recognisably Lio Convoy through a Generations lens. Don't worry, we'll get to the bit that sticks out in a minute. Decent amount of paint apps on the chest and abs being all coated up, along with some detailing on the legs and crotch area. The head sculpt is spot on, hitting those anime notes just right. Granted, there are some lion arms hanging off his robot arms, and a few chunks of animal kibble on the shoulders. We'll get to that part in a minute, calm down. It's all fairly chunky alt mode parts, but it's undeniably what he's meant to look like. I think it looks pretty good. Except, yeah, the lion head looks a bit off. Now, in the context of being westernised and the way things tend to trend to being designed to be more realistic / boring these days, this is about what I'd expect from a Hasbro design. The somewhat realistic approach does make it look a bit like a hunter wearing a lion's head as armour. Kind of like Kraven the Hunter would. You know, from the movie. Very uncool in the real world, but sort of cool in terms of imagery. But yeah, looks wrong, doesn't it? It's meant to look like a real lion's face, but he looks like he wants to cry. I suppose you would too if you had been worn on someone's shoulder. The eyes just being plain yellow is a bit odd too. Now, we'll get a bit more of a look at this in beast mode, but for now we'll just leave it as a bit of a design choice that maybe doesn't quite sit right. Articulation is pretty great, got everything you could want with a few elements of limited range. The head can rotate and you can pop the panellets on to help him look down a little. The shoulder pads do predictably get in the way a little bit, but they are able to move out of the way to a somewhat decent extent. Standard elbows, but no wrist rotation. Waist rotates and the legs can move about as much as you'd like. No ankle rocking forward and backwards, but he can tilt for days. And there's an extra rotation point above the feet, which I'm sure can be used if you like. Generally, I can't complain too much. Everything moves well enough. Wrist swivels are the only obviously missing thing, and I can work with the shoulders. Features-wise, he's actually kind of full of them. His chest opens up to reveal a little nub that is apparently a matrix. I've not watched Beast Wars 2nd, so I'll take their word for it. Guns can flip out from the lion's mane and be wielded in his hands too. There's a second set of guns you can store away in his backpack that can be pegged onto the ports on the inside of these bits of fur kibble on his arms once flipped out. You can also peg the other guns in there. Kind of odd it comes with two sets of guns when they're both pretty similar. Really, you get 4 sets of guns so you can peg even more into the main in beast mode. Either way, he's armed to the teeth. To finish off his armaments, you can swing the lion arm around and bring out a pair of blades. Now, they aren't the biggest blades ever, not quite hitting the anime style of the original toy, but it's nice that they're there. All in all, that's a lot of weaponry and gimmicks for a modern Voyager figure in the Generations line. So yeah, pretty good figure, solid 7 out of 10, if I were the sort to grade these things. Now, would have been nice if it was a bit more anime inspired, but we can't have everything. Until we can. Here's Takara's 40th Selection Lio Convoy. Yeah, this is lovely. Basically, it's the same figure, but there's a load of tiny changes and a few massive ones that turn this from a figure I quite like to a figure I flippin' love. I know I'm framing this as a versus thing in the title and the thumbnail, but it's going to be a tough one to hide which one I think is better. Let's start with the lion head. That's it. That's what I wanted. It's Lio Convoy's beast mode lion head in all its Kimber-like glory. It's not what a real lion looks like, but that's not the point. It has life and vibrancy. Its eyes have pupils. The mane has been sculpted to flow like it does when Lio Convoy is in bot mode. In the anime, the mane takes on more fur-like look to it in beast mode compared to a more angular style in robot mode. It's one of them design choices that means a toy has to pick one or the other, and I'm glad they went for the robot mode look. The original toy went for a look closer to the beast mode, and up until the Masterpiece release, any other take pretty much did too. There's a couple more bits of remoulding going on here and there too. The fur on the arms is redone to match the lion's mane. The other bit of remoulding is them swing out claws, which are extremely pointy now. Paint has been done a little differently in some surprising ways too. The Legacy version has an entirely painted chest as it was moulded on a grey sprue. This one is mostly unpainted red plastic with just the detailing done in blue and silver. The bottom abs are painted now too, something I'd never noticed were left white on the Legacy version. There's also some extra white paint on the side of the waist to help fill in beast mode. The inside of the thighs have been painted now, they're left white on the previous one. And I've only noticed recently that his pants are fully gunmetal grey, whilst the original is gunmetal at the front, plain grey at the back. One interesting design decision is to not waste any paint on the bit of lion's mane on his back. You'd think that'd be an error, but the new lion's mane is large enough that that part of his back will be fully covered in beast mode. There's also a bit of metallic blue and silver on the robot mode head, which is very lovely. Really levels it up a bit. Accessories and gimmicks are mostly the same. The Matrix chamber has a bit more vibrancy to its paint. We've got them claws I mentioned earlier. Guns-wise, there's only 2 of them, but they're actually remoulded and repainted this time. They only have little tabs like the second guns from the Legacy version, so don't exactly fit in his hands. Do feel like they should have been standard pegs so you can have him wielding them. I'm sure you can force them into his hands, but I can't get it to stay there. Now his big feature, not on the Legacy version, is a take on the original Beast Wars second toy's main gimmick, the Lion Typhoon attack. You can splay out the mane, freeing it up to give it a big old spin. Now it's not spring-loaded like the original version was, but it's still fantastic to see it here and really should have been on the Legacy version. Really ties together how much this is Takara doing Lio Convoy right. Now, transforming these is obviously identical, so let's run through it with just one of them. So we'll open up the chest right down the middle and get them off to the sides. Fold away the head, and then bring the inner part of the torso out and rotate it around and close it back up. Rotate the shoulder pads back and then swing both shoulders around on this armature on the back. Swing the chest panel and the arms up and rotate the arms around. Swing the fist back. Manoeuvre the arms up so the bits of lion's mane slot up into the lion's head. The wrists will tab in under the head. Close the chest up underneath and get the lion's leg tabbed into the inside of the shoulders. Pop the back panel into place, flip out the lion's tail from the lower part of the shoulder pad, and then line it all up to form the back of the lion, fully tabbing into the butt on the way. Rotate the legs at the thighs and above the feet, then bring the knees backwards and fold in the robot heels and you're done. Bit of a complex one that. Mostly due to how many parts there are you have to keep manoeuvring around. All those back parts and the lion front legs do a great job of getting right in the way. You get used to it though. We'll start with the Legacy version. As far as cat modes goes, this is pretty much what you expect. Actually has some decent articulation too. The front arms can rotate and bend, which isn't always a given on these sorts of beast modes. Rear legs benefit from all the articulation they had in robot mode, and they're nice and unhindered. Seen a few cat-based beast modes recently that lock half the legs in place for some reason. I feel like the Rise of the Beast Cheetor did. I don't know, I don't have one. You can't move the head around due to how the lion's mane is one big chunk, but to make up for it, his mouth opens. 10 out of 10. In my opinion, which can be basically taken as fact in this one instance, if a beast mode is a cat or a dog and its mouth doesn't open, it has failed. Now, clearly the face sculpt is still looking miserable as all heck. Poor lad just wants it to end. Open his mouth and he just looks like he walked in on something horrific he never wanted to see. Like a cinema screening of The Last Night. I never got the Nemesis version of this, but I do think the sculpt looks better in black. Might help that he has pupils there. Still looks haunted though. Other than the face stuff, the only things that I would point out is the little bits of red poking through and this grey patch on the back. Kind of breaks up the lion facade a bit. Those are proper nitpicks though. Now, let's look at Lio Convoy. Yeah, that's better, isn't it? The lion face sculpt was already killing it in robot mode, but now it's just given the beast mode a shot in the arm. It very much looks like a Generations version of the Masterpiece figure. It's not 100% animation accurate, as previously mentioned, the mane is more fur-like in the cartoon. But style-wise, this is fantastic. The mouth still opens, as it should, and those little grey bits I mentioned have been painted white. Still a bit of the red robot parts peeking out, but it's the same as the Legacy version there. What does stick out is the blades on the arms. The Legacy version hides them away very well, but there's no avoiding them here. I guess it comes down to the differences in American and Japanese designs. The Western take is usually to make accuracy and cleanness the focus, whereas the Japanese approach is a little more focused on what's cool and fun. So yes, the blades stick out when tucked back, but they look way cooler when unsheathed. Something to note on the Takara take is that a lot of the joints are looser now. This doesn't really come up in robot mode, but the front lion legs are definitely a little more loosey-goosey, and the tail just seems to pop out of place with a lot less force than it did on the Legacy version. One thing Prime has that Convoy doesn't is the flip-out panels we covered earlier with the guns stowed inside. Now you can flip out the 4 main pieces on Lio Convoy, but getting it to spin in Lio mode is a bit awkward. You have to unplug the robot arms to do so, and it's a bit of a shame that extra feature on this version has kind of been blocked in Beast mode. Optionally, you can swing out the side fur that's on the robot mode arms and attach the guns there if you wish. That's Evo Fusion, baby. Also, check out the box it comes in. I'm a bit of a sucker when they recreate old packaging styles. I don't have the original, but here's a set from that era, and I think they've done a pretty cool job evoking that design style. Wish figures were packed in more dynamic poses these days, especially when they're in their alt modes. Now, is the Takara Lio Convoy that much better than the Legacy Evolution Lio Prime? I guess your mileage may vary. I think it's transformative, and not just because that sounds like I'm doing a pun. I feel like it levels the toy up to upper tier status in terms of looks. As a figure, it's had a bump up thanks to the spinning mane and those lovely huge claws too. At its base though, it's still a pretty decent robot mode underneath, and that was always a solid take on Lio Convoy. The Hasbro release may have erred towards some form of realism and toned down the design elements, but it's still pretty good. It's just that the Takara version is what I wanted to begin with. For me, it's the 40th Selection Lio Convoy that takes it. What this figure has done though has made me hold off getting that big Convoy recently released in the Age of Primes line. It looks fun, but it's a bit dull looking in Beast mode, and I think I want to see what Takara do on the off chance they release a premium finish version or something. Although if Hasbro release an Ultra Mammoth repaint, I'd probably be right on that. Anyway, that's enough for today. Tar very much for watching. Please leave a like, comment and subscribe and stuff. As mentioned, I made an appearance in Dr. Lockdown's massive Legacy toy line review, so give that a watch if you have 8 hours to spare. It's worth it. Watch it in chunks. Also, the last vid posted was myself and my mate Kev chatting about Super Sentai for a bit. Let me know if more of that would be cool, because we want to do more of that. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time, or at TFN, whichever happens first. Probably TFN. Bye. It's very recognisably Lio Convoy with BWII Generations lens. Don't worry, that's the wrong one.